Psalm 137. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yes, we wept when we remembered Zion. Now this is talking about the Jews who had been taken captive by the Babylonians from the land of Judah. And they cried when they remembered Zion. Now Zion refers particularly to the temple that was in Jerusalem. And the Babylonians had come and had burnt the city and the temple and destroyed it. But, of course, they had really destroyed or made not holy God's temple by what they had done there. Ezekiel also sat by the rivers of Babylon with them. He sat by the river Chebar, we're told, and he reminded them that they had in fact put up idols to other gods right in the holy place of God's temple, and that they had done terrible things in that temple, and they had not been honest, they cheated, they'd done all sorts of things and worshipped other gods in that temple. But now that they had been punished and had been taken away from their land back to Babylon, which was the land whose idols they worshipped, now they cried as they remembered Zion, as they remembered the temple. Upon the willows in the middle of it, we hung up our harps. For there those who had taken us away captive required of us songs, and those who wasted us required of us jolly, merry songs, saying, "Sing us one of the songs of Zion." So these Babylonian soldiers who'd taken them into captivity, they said, "Oh, go on, sing us one of those songs, those hymns that you used to sing in the temple." And they said, "How shall we sing the Lord's song in a foreign land?" So then, those very people who had worshipped other idols and other gods in the temple, they had also learnt and sung and loved the songs of the temple, like hymns. It's like you can go to church and love the hymns, love the music, sing along enthusiastically, when in fact you are actually in your heart quite somewhere else. And this is what we've got to be careful of, that we don't just say that we love God and then our heart is absolutely somewhere else. But you can go through the outside appearance of being Christian, singing the songs, going along with the story, when in your heart you're somewhere else. And that's what these people did. So there they were, carried away into a foreign land, and the soldier said, "Go on, sing us one of the songs you used to sing, the hymns you used to sing in the temple." And they said, "How can we, here in a foreign land? If I forget you, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. Let my tongue stick to the roof of my mouth if I forget you, and if I prefer not Jerusalem above my chiefest joy." And so these people had sinned, and they were being punished for that sin. But it seems that they cried, and they recognized that actually they really did love Jerusalem, and they really did love the temple. And the person who's writing the Psalms talks about how he prefers Jerusalem as his chiefest joy. It was the one thing that would make him happiest of all. His greatest joy was to see Jerusalem restored and rebuilt and the temple rebuilt. And that's exactly the plan that God had, to rebuild the temple. That was exactly his plan. And his idea was that they would repent. They would say sorry to him and to each other whilst they were there in captivity, and that they would go back to the land and rebuild it. Well, they sort of did at the time of Ezra and Nehemiah, but most of them actually preferred to stay in Babylon. And those who did go back weren't particularly obedient, as we read about in Malachi and Haggai and Zechariah. They were more interested in their own little farms that they started, and they wanted to build their own houses rather than rebuilding God's house. So these men and women who, first of all, were very, very sad, later on the soft life in Babylon eventually got to them, and they preferred Babylon as their greatest joy rather than Jerusalem. And this is what we've got to watch out for, because the more comfortable we get in life, the more we can sort of imagine that actually our greatest joy is here in this life, when our greatest joy really should be the idea of Jesus coming back, the restoration of Jerusalem as the capital of God's kingdom, and the things of God's kingdom. More than anything else in the world, we should want to be in God's kingdom and to love the things of God's truth, of his temple, of his service, more than anything else in the world.